Hey kids, what's going on? Hey, am I even live? Am I even on the air here? What's going on? Yeah, I guess I'm live. Who knows? I got a theory, and the theory is that StreamYard actually knows when I have a guest because I'm sitting here clicking windows that just say unresponsive, unresponsive, wait, unresponsive, unresponsive. I pay for this. Honest to God, I pay for this. Seriously, I pay money every month, like 40 or 50 bucks every single month for this. We do have a great guest tonight, Metal Maiden Vicki, if of course. Yeah, there's another window. Just keep saying, just unresponsive, unresponsive. Let's see if I can get some of your comments on up here. Yeah, there's Jared. Happy to be here. I wish I was Jared. Up Fingers, cool. Captain Stone Crab's with us. Says I got a finger up here. Gilman says great guest tonight. I agree. I can't wait. If of course StreamYard will come down off high atop Mount Sucks. Let us do it. Right back at you, Julian Caesar. Let's see here. Gilman says right on. Jay says they call him Mr. Gulley. You live, you live. You are live. Well, I guess. We'll see. Hello, Julian. I got to try to do a couple things here. See, normally I have this show set up like 15 minutes in advance, but it, Ariana May says, hope everybody had a marvelous Monday. I do too. God Almighty, I do too. For the love of Christ, I do too. Let's see. Gilman says, hey, Kim. People saying hi. Oh, let me just go through some stuff here while I try and make this work. Let's see. What's the spiel I do always at the beginning? Please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the free things you can do to help us serve the algorithm, the almighty, all-seeing, all-powerful algorithm. Because, and I'll just be honest about it, we got to start making some dough on this thing, or it's just not worth this much fun. I actually do work to make this happen. What else? Memberships and super chats are how you can contribute to this show. And then lastly, if, of course, StreamYard was going to let me, you could tell at the bottom of the screen. Well, let me just try that before I try something else here. All right, well, maybe that'll work. I don't know. There we go. It's working. At the bottom of the screen, it'll tell you how you can turn on your gifted memberships. And if you do that, honest to God, then... Oh, God, this isn't going to work. And I need this graphic so badly for tonight's show. It's a picture of Metal Maiden Vicki. Oh, wait. Hold on. Come on. I'm going to tell you what. It's getting to be. I've done this before. I used to be on Facebook. And then I was just on YouTube with OBS. And then StreamYard came along and Super Chats and yada, yada. Streamlabs is looking real good to me right now. They only take 3% of your dough. Metal Maiden Vicki, stand by. Please stand by. And then we'll see if I can open up Skype and make it work with this. This is just... Oh, it's not even the picture I needed. Fabulous. That's fabulous. Just a lot of fun today. A lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun. I don't think you guys are going to get to see what Metal Maiden Vicki looks like. What do we got going? Now my phone's going off. Who gives a shit? Let's see here. How are you guys doing? Wolf, labbing it, it's going to be the same crap. You think any of these companies are out to help me? No, they're supposed to be helping. They're not helping. They're so not helping. Okay, let's see. I think that's the photo that I need, and it, of course, is in the wrong. Yeah. How you guys doing? We're gonna have Metal Maiden Vicki on. I wore the one metal band shirt that I have to. Oh man, I'm telling you, getting this close to just rescheduling. Getting this close. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. You know what? We're just going to go. Oh, well, no. Now, of course, it's working. Now, of course, it's going to slowly torture me. And there we go. And there we go. Well, we might make this happen. I don't know. The wolf likes her show. Everybody does. Gilman, typically you would get the point, but I can't load the point in because StreamYard. Incidentally, this is like the third time I've opened StreamYard in the last half hour. Coach Mike Roddick's here. People saying hi. Lab it. Yeah, I worked a little with Lab. It's part OBS, part something else. It's very cumbersome, not easy to use, but if it works, it's probably pretty good for me. If it works, I'm pretty big on if it works. All right, here we go. We're going to take this and we're going to move on it. And we're going to, for Christ's sakes. Sorry about this, folks. It's StreamYard knows. They know. Somehow they know. Oh, guest scheduled. Tell you what, let's just not work. It's just ridiculous. Somebody out there, please, for the love of all that's holy, there's an opportunity for you in the marketplace. I swear to you, there is. There's an opportunity for you to take all of their business in one day. You can have it all, because I'm not the only one that's sick of this crap. I really don't. I'm really not. Trust me on that. Let's see here. At least they don't take 30%. Well, yeah, Wolf, but 30% of nothing is what? That's about how it's going. I watch shows all the time. Other shows of people that are just morbidly obese, or they have some other sort of defect. And I'm telling you, 42,000 followers. Super chats flying like you can't imagine. Me? Well, I get what I get, I suppose. All right, let's see. It's processing the photo now. I don't understand. You see that thing behind me? It's a JPEG. I can use it as a background. Bam! It's in there. All the things I put up on the screen have to be converted into a PDF. Metal Maiden Vicki was kind enough to already turn them into PDFs. And, I'm putting all that away. I'm putting on a happy face. I'm opening up the software here. If it opens up and we get Metal Maiden Vicki, all that'll be gone. I apologize to the very first time viewers of this show. It's normally a slick production right out of the gate. You wouldn't believe it. Absolutely fabulous. Metal Maiden Vicki will roll with this. She'll be fine. Me, on the other hand, well, yeah, exactly. For the love of Mike. Gilman, there's the point. Thank you so much for the $1.99, shattering our nightly goal of any amount of money. Although people tend to like it when I go crazy. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to be Perry Caravello, just some absolute abomination of a human that just screams at everything. Entertainment, knowledge, quality programming. People don't want that. What are you, crazy? Gil says, start talking about the DV. That will get you some hate money. I don't talk about them. Boy, do they talk about me, though. For the love of, what I said earlier. I'm just vamping here while I'm waiting for the software to open, which is happening really slowly because, of course, StreamYard. People love drama, don't they? They can't get enough of it. They can't get it. And I've had an absolutely rotten day. And this is just part of it. Welcome to my world. You guys are the good people. Come on. You know that. I know that. Come on and open. Would you please? Just, I've got this computer so fast. I mean, it's like lightning. I open up StreamYard this afternoon, late evening, dusk, and just chugging along like a snail with a head trauma. This is when I really wish I hadn't quit smoking. It really is. I'd be like a chimney right now. Let's see. Oh, hey. Oh. Come on. Just open. I don't ask for much. All you got to do is open. Let's see. Metal Maiden Vicki and I earlier today, we linked up on the software. We had a brief chat. I got excited about the show. I took a nap. Everything was Jake. And now we're in this room. So let's see here. Gilman says, I'm playing the Trooper as we speak. Bring on the Metal Queen. I don't know what the Trooper is. I'm assuming it's an awesome metal song. Okay. Now it's opening. Might take a half an hour to open. Who knows? I'm already 18 minutes behind schedule. This is also on the Sonic Asylum Radio Facebook page where it streams every day. I'm sure the Sonic Asylum Radio people are like, well, why does this on our network? Iron Maiden. Okay, if you say so. I'll go along with anything. We talked about the fact that the Wolf has been in her chat room recently and that he's an amazing chat room person, which of course I know this. I personally take credit for it. But we talked about that. We talked about his contributions to her program in terms of, the College of Musical Knowledge. All excited to get into this, and let's just, yeah. And I could tell a half an hour before the show started when I started dealing with this. Oh, it's going to hose me. Yeah, it's going to hose me, and it's going to hose me hard. Somebody clip that. That's a free drop for your show that you can use in your programming. But yeah, good times. Good times. It's a miracle that I get this show done every day at this. I mean, because I'm like a clock. I this show may suck, and I think the internet's passed judgment on that, but it's on time, and it's got pictures. So let's see here. It's going in as big. It's as the wheel just spins and spins, and so here we go. Here we go. Let's get this going. Oh, and even this is going slow. Yeah, StreamYard it doesn't just do one thing. It just makes everything suck. I guarantee you they've done some sort of backdoor update that is just eating memory or updating a library or putting a node or nodule in that's just Jewel of Aquarius is here. She's from those good folks over at the Urban Landlord on Facebook, and they've asked me to come back on again, and it's just probably never going to happen. And it's not because they're not good people. It's because I will not be overtalked by a drunken fool who contributes zero to the world, to a conversation, and all of that crap. Won't do it. Simply will not do it. I have, of course, this show. This extravaganza. Oh, let's see here. Tingling with excitement, trembling with horror, throbbing with emotion. That's the story of my life. Strib says, say no to backdoor updates. There we go. All right, we're going to give this a shot. Bam. This better work. I'm calling her now. And it's taken forever. Connecting. Okay. All right. Shouldn't it be ringing or something? This is wow. Freeze up. Connecting. Here we go. I'm not frozen on this end. Jill says, I don't like the over talking either. I don't mind the over talking. It's 12th man over talking. It's 12 steps over talking. A degenerate. Hello, and welcome to the Tom Gulley Show. I'm betting that you're Metal Maiden Vicki of Metal Maiden Vicki's Sonic Metal Euphoria on sonicasylumradio.com. Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. Sorry for the late call, but StreamYard has decided that I needed to have my pants taken off over my head. Hello?
Well, good evening, Tom. Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Just fine. Ladies and gentlemen, it is
I hear myself, though. What am I doing wrong
here? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you know what you're saying.
Well, it's really strange because whenever I talk, I can hear myself talk.
Like right now?
Yep. Yeah, it repeats.
That's okay. I have the echo cancellation on. Hold on. Maybe I can help you here.
It's really strange.
Hold on. No, I can't help you because you're not coming in over. No, I can't help you because if you were on StreamYard, I could help you, but there's nothing I can do about that from here. So sorry. Would you like to just reschedule? We could do that.
Let's see. Maybe. Okay, you can hear me okay now?
Yes, I can.
And I can hear you. All right. You know what it was, Tom? I think it was me. Because as we were talking earlier, I'd never used Skype before.
I got you.
And I'm watching you on my Roku on my TV.
I got you.
Muted. But I have YouTube on my computer. And even though I have my YouTube muted,
it's okay.
I had to stop it, and that fixed it.
Okay, good.
So we have no echo. We're all good. Hello. Good evening, Tom, and hello, everybody out there.
Yeah. So,
no worries. You know what I always say? And I realized I've been saying this for a long time. It's the beauty and chaos of live radio. Gotta love it.
Yeah. So when did you understand that you were a person that was dedicated to metal?
Okay. All right. We're going to go way back. Now, I was a 70s kid. Okay. So I grew up with AM radio. I liked disco. I liked all that stuff. But then one day I was watching TV late at night, and I'm sure we all remember Don Kirshner's rock concert.
Yes.
And I'm watching the show, and a promo video came on. That's what they were calling them back then for Black Sabbath, Paranoid. And I'm sitting there watching this video, and it just blew me away. It amazed me. I was like, who are these guys? And what kind of sound are they making? And that's pretty much what got me started into heavy metal, was watching that video on Don Kirshner's. And then I started to, look into a little bit more, going to the local record stores. And then a friend of mine, if you will, soon after, I heard him playing Judas Priest over the telephone. And I said, what are you listening to? Oh, Judas Priest, they're this great band. They're going to be playing at the Palladium in New York City. You got to go see them. And I said, wow, they're really cool. So I went to the concert. And that was pretty much the start of it. That was Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. My dad drove us to the Palladium in the city, which is very cool. He dropped us off.
How old were you?
Oh, let's see. Well, the concert was 81. So it was Judas Priest on their Point of Entry tour, and Iron Maiden, which I didn't know at all, had no clue who they were. They were the opening band, and they were on their Killers tour. And Iron Maiden just completely blew me away. I mean, an amazing band. I saw the comment from, was it Gilman? Iron Maiden, yes, Up the Irons, the Trooper. And they have a huge big Eddie that comes out on stage. That's their big mascot. And we were like, what is that? And, so the whole thing just amazed me. And that's what pretty much started it. I still like all the music I grew up with. That's never going to change.
Yeah.
But heavy metal, hard rock, that is my passion. So I really, I attributed it to Priest and Sabbath.
And so you were how old again?
In 81, I would have been in high school, like maybe a freshman.
Oh, okay. So you could drive, kind of. It just
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
You weren't old enough to drive. All right,
no,
so,
I wasn't 16 yet. No.
All right. So anyway, what is metal? What makes a band metal? What are the defining attributes of metal? Because people talk about it all the time. And is it like, it's not just hard rock, there's something that distinguishes metal from other kinds of music. What is that thing?
Well, that is a good question. It's a lot of things, it has to do a lot with the tones of the music. It's a heavier tone. Now, I'm not a musician in any way, shape, or form. I am just a fan, so I don't have a musician's ear. But to me, going back again to Black Sabbath, they had that deep tone that really was due to the factory accident that Tony Iommi had when they were working as youngins in England. He chopped off part of his finger, and that's what gave him the more deep tonal sound. So I think it has a lot to do with the tones. But then if you look at more like Sabbath, which is more like a doom band, or then you go to the lighter side of metal where you got like a Poison or Rat, which is not so heavy tones. It encompasses a lot of outspoken rebellion in a way. I've never really been asked this question. What is metal to me? It's a world to live in that can make you happy when it needs to. It can bring out some anger if it needs to, as long as, it's not directed at anybody specifically or, in person. It just emits a lot of emotion within you. Certain metal affects people differently. The different subgenres, if you will. You have thrash metal, speed metal, hair metal, neoclassical metal, traditional heavy metal. So it's, to me, it's all heavy metal, but there are differences. I'm a big fan of the neoclassical.
What's that?
Well, to me, it's like a band like Darkmoor, for example. They really take their roots from classical music, which I feel is really the root of heavy metal, the root of all metal. If you look at composers such as Berlioz with Symphonie Fantastique, that is metal. That man was completely and utterly metal. He fascinates me. So I think metal is it's an image, but again, not everybody. Like, people look at me and they're like, "You're into metal?" And yeah, like, I never really, if you look at me, I guess I wouldn't personify it, except maybe if I was like, going out to a concert or something. But it's a state of mind. It's a camaraderie. It's a community like I've never experienced before. The heavy metal and hard rock community is very tight. It's underground, but yet it's known. It's kind of a weird thing, the lyrics can go from very, harsh and political and dystopic to, wonderful and sex, drugs, and rock and roll and all that. So it's really hard to define. It's just a state of mind. And if you dig it, you dig it. If you get into it, you get into it. And that's why I enjoy playing all different genres, to see what people like and what turns them on and what's new to them and what's old is new, So it's great.
So, like, in popular music, what are the I mean, is Led Zeppelin, is that a metal band?
There's always been controversy with that. I personally do not consider Led Zeppelin a heavy metal band. They are a hard rock blues based band, and they always have been. They always will be. A lot of bands, were inspired by Led Zeppelin,
right,
absolutely, in metal. I've heard that a lot, in interviews. You got your staples, Led Zeppelin was an influence, Jimi Hendrix, a lot of classic rock that we grew up with, which I love as well. So it's...
Who was the first metal band? Like, when did metal really start?
That's a controversy too, I think, because a lot of people say Black Sabbath.
Okay.
Because basically heavy metal, growing up in Birmingham, England, where Judas Priest was, Iron Maiden was, Def Leppard, there was a lot of factories, a lot of metal factories. So all day long, Rob Halford from Judas Priest has been quoted, when he was a young lad in school, he would hear the constant clank, 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 these factories. And it just started to get into their brains, like music, and it just kind of became a thing coming out of Birmingham, England. And other people would say it could be bands like Blue Murder, Steppenwolf. Okay. They were the first ones to mention heavy metal in a song. But I think they were mostly referring to that in the way of a motorcycle.
Right.
But, so it's, yes, so I think it's a matter of opinion, but that's my opinion. It was really Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden were the core of metal.
So it's like, it's not necessarily as old as rock and roll.
No.
Proper. So it's been around, but it's newer than that. I guess metal was exploding at the same time that you and I were in our teen or high school years, right? I mean, it started a little bit earlier than that, but I remember, I know, Rush is almost prog rock. You had Kiss, which I've heard people call them heavy metal. I'm like, they're pop. They're not really heavy metal. A lot of people have tried to tell me that Aerosmith is heavy metal. And it's like, I don't think that's it. There's just like a vibe that they don't have, that what I consider to be heavy metal does have.
I agree with you, Tom. Kiss is hard rock to me. And what was the other band you mentioned?
Aerosmith.
Aerosmith. Oh, they're definitely a blues-based hard rock band as well. Absolutely. I've never considered Aerosmith heavy metal, not at all. Uh, but some people could, again, debate that. Although I think the bigger debate is with Led Zeppelin. There are diehards that say that they are heavy metal, and I just don't think so. None of their albums scream heavy metal to me at all. And now people could say early Judas Priest albums, their very first album, Rock-a-Rolla, was very different and I mean, these were coming out in like early 70s, Sabbath late 60s. So it's been around for a long time. Judas Priest just celebrated 50 years and they're still in the studio making another new album. A lot of metal bands that we loved back then are still producing amazing albums. I mean, if you had said to me in 1983, Judas Priest will be putting out an album in 2025, we would have laughed, right? Like there's no way that would happen. But yet, here we are and it's amazing.
It seems like it was kind of an evolution. Like Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Kiss, maybe some would say Rush, that's prog rock too, to me.
Yes.
But those bands, particularly Led Zeppelin, and maybe a little bit some of the more theatric bands like Kiss, they made it more acceptable to like heavy metal, or like say if heavy metal had come out during the the mid 70s, Olivia Newton-John, Elton John pop era, well, it would have been kind of tough. But there was that bridge of hard rock bands that made metal kind of a natural evolution, or at least easier for some people's palates to accept at that point.
Right, exactly. Even certain bands didn't make mainstream radio, Black Sabbath with Iron Man. We heard a lot, So, but it was few and far between with heavy metal really coming on mainstream radio. I would say more of the lighter bands were on radio, like Rat and Poison and Cinderella and Skid Row. And, Skid Row isn't really considered light. But,
well, in kind of that FM, the switch to FM and album rock,
right,
on a
like
lot
Def
of
Leppard and
different stations.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another one for you. Is AC/DC a metal band?
I do not think so. They are hard rock.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah, I mean, no, they're hard rock. I never considered them metal either.
What was your radio journey like? Like, when did you first decide or get the opportunity, or what got you into, hey, I want to talk to people about this stuff on the radio?
Okay, and if I want to interject for a second, I was looked at this comment, Scorpions, AC/DC, Metallica. But what started my journey? Well, I never thought of myself as a DJ. And, looking back, Tom, I wish I had graduated college with a communications major. But for some reason, that frightened me back then. And I ended up being a liberal arts major, which was a little bit of everything. But what really started was when I joined Facebook, and I'm flipping through, and you know how you get on Facebook, the people that you may know, right? And you're flipping through, oh yeah, I know that person. And back in high school, there was a radio station in New Rochelle, New York, WVOX, and it also had, which was an AM station, but it also had an FM station, WRTN. And back then, there was a 6-hour heavy metal program from midnight to 6 on Saturday nights called Metal Mayhem with Matt O'Shaughnessy. And we all listened to it. Now, I lived up county from New Rochelle, if you will, in Westchester County. But everybody knew about the show. We tuned in. It was great. It was a lot of fun. He would interview everybody that would come to the New York area back then. And he was young when he started it. He was like 13. His father owned the station through marriage. Everybody knew it. We even knew it back then that, his father had owned the station. He gave him his show at like 14 years old. And Matt went with it all these years. So fast forward to Facebook and I see Matt O'Shaughnessy and I thought, that can't be the same one. Did that show, right? It can't be. Turned out it was him, and he was still doing Metal Mayhem. So he messaged me one day, and hey, would you want to come down and co-host a show with me one day? And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. I'm like, what does that entail? I don't know what. And he says, just come down and we'll wing it. You'll be fine. He goes, we'll meet and we'll have dinner. We'll talk about it. Blah blah blah. So we did, and I ended up doing the show for 6 months. Twice a week, and it was on worldwide webcam, which was very daunting for me, not only being a co-host to something I've never done before, but then to be on a worldwide webcam.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from him. He was very good at what he did. It was an interesting time, if you will. I can't get much into that, but I did learn a lot, and for that I'm thankful. Now, during that time, he would bring in interviews of people, and one of the interviews he did was Ichabod Crane, which at the time was one of George Neal's bands, who, of course, we know George Neal from Halloween.
Yeah, and one of the founders, if not the founder, of Sonic Asylum Radio.com.
Well, he's not a founder per se. He is a co-owner.
Well, that's better than being founder.
But he's been friends with the founders for years. I mean, we're going on, 13 years this April. And
wow, you guys have been on for 13 years. And for those of you who don't know, Halloween, a noted heavy metal band, and George is the bass player for that band. And they've been around for 30, 35 years, something like that.
Yeah. Don't Meddle with Evil came out in the 80s. Their first album, and they still do shows, so that's great.
And so you were covering this other band that George was a part of.
Yeah, and it was a great interview. It was not an in-studio interview. However, was it that interview? Yeah, it was George Neal and Rick Craig and Ichabod Crane, which were both in Halloween, and then a couple of other guys came in studio. Now they were doing a call in, and then a couple of other guys, Tom Wassman, who was the drummer for Ichabod Crane at the time, he came in studio because he lived in the area, and he brought this other musician with him, Mike Sabatini from Attacker, which is a band out of New Jersey, and Matt seemed to know both of them very well, and so it was a lot of fun. It was a good experience for me, just to see what goes on, and George, I guess, took a liking to me. And then later on, Matt had Halloween on for one of they were doing a special something or other. And so Matt had George back on. And when George learned that I had left Metal Mayhem kind of abruptly, he said, you got to get back on the air. You just have to. He said, I want to introduce you to some friends of mine at Sonic Asylum Radio. And I think you would be a great DJ. And at that point, I was like, I have no music. Everything is on CD. I have no music on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have 4.5 terabytes of music. So it's grown quite exponentially since then. But so I did. So that, I left in December 2014. I joined Sonic officially May 2015. I had knee surgery early that year, so I wasn't able to do that. So we waited, and then I got everything ready and burned tons of CDs. I mean, you can't even imagine. I had a couple of friends help me out with their music libraries, and so I eventually had enough to start a show. And it's been a blast ever since, and I'm so thankful for George Neal for believing in me. I didn't think anybody was paying attention to what I was doing there. It was Matt's show, it wasn't mine. And
yeah,
but he said I could tell you were the real deal. You weren't just sitting there like, he would have some co-hosts come on afterwards where, he'd say, well, what's your favorite Metallica album? And she's like, well, all of them.
Yeah.
No, that's not the answer you want.
Right.
Be a little bit more specific, can you? Well, I do like all of them. So, it just,
So
it
like
wasn't genuine, I guess.
one of the things, there's a lot of stuff there. First of all, your show is really great. And I think probably you've heard me say this before. It really reminds me of the days when radio was awesome as far as music is concerned.
Thank you.
Where we all listened to the radio for music. You might have some albums and stuff, but you didn't have a record player where you were in your buddy's driveway, working on cars or driving around in a car or just out in public. You had the radio. And so you would listen to a certain DJ for all the new sounds you liked, and that DJ had a personality and a sensibility about the music. And so your show really reminds me of that. You've got a voice there with you for 5 hours that's kind of just going to take you on this trip whenever. And I really like that. The 4 terabytes does not surprise me. One of the things I like about your show is, yes, it is very, very, very metal, but you're not afraid to, play some punk music once in a while, or even some crappy pop single, Nick Gilder's Hot in the City. Let me see if I have it. You'll go ahead and play it.
I do have it.
I bet you do. And is it metal? No, never mind. So it's a really great show. Sonic Asylum Radio.com, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays Eastern Time. It's super, super awesome. Gilman is asking, Vicki, your thoughts on Tom Morello. Metal was his influence.
Tom Morello, now Rage Against the Machine. Now, I hope I'm correct with that, because that is not a band that I am really into per se, but I do appreciate their form of metal. But I know Tom Morello has worked with a lot of people. He's a prominent name in the business.
And I wore my Only Metal t-shirt, the band Gas Chamber, which you have to admit, it's a pretty good metal band name. That for some reason would have me play harmonica with him. The chef is Chef is asking, my question is, what is metal and hard rock? Is there a distinction between the two of them? I think we've already covered that. Metal is just a darker tone. And I have to tell you, I think this, I am not a gigantic metal fan, but having listened to your show, I have, number one, a totally different perception of what metal is. And there's a lot of different kinds of metal that I really, really, really like. And I have a completely reset view of the people that like metal. I had a stereotype in my head of, these are the people who listen to metal. Got to have tattoos, probably some face piercings, definitely own a pit bull, definitely have a motorcycle, definitely have a record, probably get in fights a lot, probably some. No, they're just regular people. They're the nicest people in the world. I can't even remember how I got hooked up with Sonic Asylum Radio, but everybody is just so cool, so nice, and some incredibly talented musicians. And your particular interviews, you do the best band interviews of anybody I've ever heard in my life. Martha Quinn, Nina Blackwood, give it up. Metal Maiden Vicki does a better job than you do. What's the sort of approach you take when you interview a band?
Oh, well, thank you for that. And I have to say really quick, Martha Quinn, she actually grew up in the town I grew up in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but she's a little bit older than me, so we never went to school together. But she is in the archives at the high school for Martha Quinn. So we have Martha Quinn and Peter Falk.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah. So All right. So rephrase your question again, or re-answer your.
Just what's your approach when like a band, you're going to be interviewing a band, maybe they've got a new record or you just happened upon them. How do you approach interviewing the band?
Okay. Well, a lot of times I'll just reach out to them, whether on Facebook or Messenger. I'll send them an email. I would love to have you on my show. I let them know the details. And if they get back to me, and then we go from there. So a lot of times, I do get a lot of good feedback. I had stopped doing interviews towards the end of last year due to a lot of things going on, but I have been picking up again this year. I've done 2 already. I have 1 scheduled this coming up Saturday. So it's just a matter of all the, not only am I a DJ at the station, but I'm also the station manager. So I handle all of the incoming emails from all of the record labels, the promotion companies, the PR people, you name it, we get sent music. And it's just incredible how much we get and how much new music we're turned on to. And so it gets overwhelming at times on what to choose every week. And, you have to certain ways on how to, put together the show. But once the band is on board with it, then I what I do is I basically just tell them, quick rundown of, certain things I don't like to do. I don't talk politics and I don't talk religion. And most bands are cool with that. And I always tell them my interviews are informally formal. Meaning I'm going to ask you some questions that other interviews are going to ask you, but then I'm going to maybe ask you some other things that other interviewers aren't going to ask you. Nothing bad, nothing bad. But, every interviewer is going to be the same thing, especially if it's about a new album, the collaboration of the album, who, you go on from there. And when I first started to do interviews, I had a whole list, I was very paranoid about them. And, and I'd watched Matt do so many and I learned on how he did his and, and I was so nervous. And I just recently posted my very first interview I did on my YouTube channel. I'm in process of putting them all up. I've done over 100 interviews and I want to get them all up on YouTube, but they have to be, it's a process because I need to cut the music out, as you understand, and make it work. So I put my first one up for Primeval, band out of New York, which were longtime friends of mine. The lead singer, Andy Eichhorn, is a Pi Alpha Nu fraternity member of mine, which was also a big journey in my further of music, was going to SUNY New Paltz and pledging as a little sister to the Pi Alpha Nu fraternity. They expanded my music knowledge even more with those many musicians in the frat. Many bands were formed within the frat. So they really helped me, I guess, move along, introduce me to new bands, so that was a very important part of my life, was doing that. And they still rock out today. We just did our 40th fraternity reunion this past April last year. And Friday night we had what we call a rock show, and all the people that were musicians got together and jammed. We took over a bar in town and it was a blast. And, and then Saturday was the nice sit down formal. We have to be nice, but it's been a great journey. But just interviewing, it was very scary at first, Tom. I didn't see myself doing any of this. emceeing a 2-day heavy metal festival. The same year I joined Sonic Asylum Radio. One of our DJs reached out to me and said, "You can do this." And I was like, "No, I can't." Said, "What are you talking about? I got to get up on stage and introduce bands and, for 2 days." I'm like, that's nerve wracking as hell.
Yeah.
And my dad came with me, which was awesome. It was down in Delaware. And and since then I've done quite a few festivals. I did another Hollow Fest the following year. I did a Pure Steel Hollow Fest out in Cleveland. I did one for George at Harpo's in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Just Pure Fest and a couple little things. So that's been fun. I got over my nerve of that.
So can you talk about the segments of your show? That's one of the things that I think makes it so fun. I mean, it's not that it would be bad, but it's not just 5 hours of here's some more metal, here's some more metal, here's some more metal. You've got some really fun, interactive stuff like the old radio days when people would call in and, oh my God, get to request a song, which would never happen on the radio now. You know, they know what they're going to play. The DJs have no choice in the matter. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And, I do feel bad for the mainstream DJs that they can't play what they like. They have to play the same songs over and over again by the bands. We've heard these songs forever. It makes me think of this DJ we had in New York. What was his name? Oh boy, but he used to do perfect album sides, and that was a big deal that he was able to play a full album.
Yeah.
But my segments, they come up. The Alphabet Attack, which I love.
Oh God, I love the Alphabet Attack.
But that's gotten harder to do as my music library has grown, because the more that's available to try to do the segment is more mind-boggling. Sometimes I'll choose like an actual word and do a segment based on songs that have that word.
But so explain what the Alphabet Attack is, because for me as a listener, it's super fun for me to sit there. It's almost like a Sudoku puzzle or something. I'm sitting there trying to go, okay, song begins with, you will explain what it is.
Okay, well, basically I'll choose a letter for the week. Let's say I choose the letter C. So all the bands that I'm going to play are going to start with the letter C. And then I'll choose maybe the letter L. All the songs that I'm going to play by those bands that I choose are going to start with the letter L. So it can be a little, research, because you got to open up albums, look, oh, does this band have an L song? Does this one, is that going to work? Sometimes I'll choose a band and it'll be like, I'm going to play the fourth song on a random album. And see what comes up. So I do the Alphabet Attack. Sometimes I was doing the promoter potluck, which I have a wheel that I made. You go on one of those websites, you can create a spinning wheel,
Mm-hmm.
And I have all the record labels, promoters, everybody that we deal with on the wheel, and I'll spin it. And it'll be like, okay, Scarlet Records. All right, I'm going to play my band of the week is going to come from somebody at Scarlet Records. And I'll search my library for everybody in Scarlet Records, and I'll do that. Then, but the Alphabet, I do want to bring that back, but I got to figure out how to make it a little bit easier, because it's grown so much since I started to do it. As you can imagine, 10 years of music being added to my music library.
It's just, it's so much fun to be like, okay, what bands do I know with the letter C? Okay, I was Creedence.
Right.
And then
with the Alphabet Attack, it's any genre. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be heavy metal or hard rock. It can be any genre at all.
And I don't know how many of one of my favorite groups, and I don't think they're metal, but they might be. Maybe you can tell me if you remember or if you see them. They're a band called Sex Bomb. The Sex Bomb.
I have some Sex Bomb.
Yes, they're really good. Gilman is asking, Vicki, do you prefer the higher pitched metal singers like Rob Halford or the Growl? A lot of other metal singers, which I call the Cookie Monster metal. That's a tough one for me. It really
actually is a video of Cookie Monster, and he's like, cookie. But it's a good question, because technically real growly lyrics like Cannibal Corpse are not my wheelhouse. I might enjoy the musicality of the band, but to take an entire album of that kind of vocal, I will tear my thin hair out of my head. And I like the higher pitched, like Rob Halford, but Rob can go, as we know, super, super high to low. I mean, if you look at Island of Domination, that song, he goes so high and so low. Victim of Changes. Rob is definitely one of my favorite heavy metal vocalists of all time. So it's hard to tell. And I like everybody in between. I like the bands that have the mixture of the growly versus the clean.
Yeah.
When I'm sampling bands, I'll sample at least 3 songs of theirs so I get a better idea, because sometimes they surprise you on the second listen or the third. You're like, okay, well, they're not all growly, but there are some growly bands I do like.
Yeah.
It just depends. But for an entire album,
That's rough.
That's not really my wheelhouse. Those kind of harsher bands. Although I do like some death metal. Cradle of Filth would be a no. And this is very controversial too, because people have told me, oh, we're going to take away your metal card because of this. I am not a fan of King Diamond and Merciful Fate. I cannot even be in the same room with that man. And he seems super, super high, like evil, super high.
Yeah. The Wolf here, our good friend. Thank you so much, Wolf, for the $4.99. He said, I think this is a private joke between Wolf and I. Well, it's becoming less private on the show here. I think metal started in the days of the Greeks and the Romans, which is a thing from college. Jared says, this chick is cool AF. She knows her stuff. Oh, God, doesn't she, though?
Oh, thank you.
Jared says he's also heard Sabbath referred to as the first stoner metal band. Before we get to that answer, because I don't want to forget this, and I don't, you don't discuss this if you don't want to, but your sister Lori, who sadly is no longer with us, what just a joyous, absolutely infectiously kind of serendipitously positive person. Just so awesome. And you had a segment that I loved called Lori's Just Dance a Few. And it was just kind of a break that was just, hey, these songs are all going to have a groove. They're not necessarily going to be dance music, but they're all going to be danceable type things. So I just want to bring that up.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I will be bringing that back soon. I thought about doing it this past Saturday, but I just couldn't, because I really want to think about the first set that I want to do when I bring it back. There's certain bands that I know I'm going to include, like ABBA and Blondie. Those were big. She was a big fan of those bands. And, it's interesting because when I first went back on the air after taking some time off, after my mom and Lori passed in August, she oddly, now you can believe this or not, but I am a true believer in these kind of things. She was with me for my first 2 shows, and looking back at my playlist, because every week I recap my playlist and I post all the songs that I played and everything each week on my Metal Euphoria page and my personal Facebook page. And I did a lot of random play that day. And the songs that were being chosen by my broadcaster were so her. It wasn't even funny. I mean, even Steve Bello, as you know, our prog metal funk guitarist from New Jersey. Yeah. He said, are you kidding me? He says, you are really not picking these songs? And I said, I swear I'm not. I said, I would not lie to you about that. I said, Lori's here, man, and she is choosing what we're listening to. And it went on for 2 weeks.
Well, and I got to say,
amazing.
She would pop up in this show all the time, and she was just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Thank
you. I enjoyed your shows a lot.
Well, she was just wonderful. I got to say, it's just kind of awesome that part of the metal that I've learned to like is via people that are really talented musicians that actually are part of your chat room and whatnot. I mean, to have a Steve Bellow in your chat room, to have Lisa Hurt. Oh my God. I mean, she's I don't want to insult her, but she is orchestral. I mean, she's kind of like almost Meatloaf-esque in the ability to change structure and everything in her songs. I'm a big fan of her music. And then Steve's kind of the same way. And so to know that kind of stuff is metal, and it's just completely expanded what I thought it was. But do you think Black Sabbath is the first stoner metal band?
I don't know if they're the first stoner metal band. I mean, it's hard to tell because their songs, that is very doomy, and a lot of people were put off by them at first because, of course, they were deemed satanic and evil. And if you read a lot of their lyrics, they are definitely not. And I believe it was Bill Ward, the drummer, who named the band because of the movie Black Sabbath.
Yes.
He was watching it one night, and what a cool song. And, the first album that we're introduced to them is the song Black Sabbath, and you hear the rain and the evil, and it's all about, this creature, this image appearing to you at night. And it's just, whoa. I mean, listening to that as a kid, we were like, what? I mean, and as I said, the first song I heard was Paranoid, which was a different album. I didn't hear their first album till later. Paranoid came after. But yeah, they're definitely stoner metal, and which I'm a big fan of. Gas Giant, I love Gas Giant. They're great stoner metal. Yes, just there's so many. Caius. There's a lot of them out there, and I know I'll get tongue tied, but I just wanted to go back to a second. We're talking about how Sonic and Tom Gulley show kind of formed. I believe it was George Neal. I remember he saying he was flipping around YouTube one night, and you know how one video leads you to another, and you end up in this big rabbit hole of videos, and somehow he came across your show, and
poor man.
He liked it, and he thought you were really funny, and one thing led to another, and he was like, hey, how would you like to, partner up, and you can post on our stuff, and here we are. And that was, wow.
That was a long time. I mean, that was a substantial number of years ago. No, I mean, maybe not that long, but it might have been 2017 or 18, I guess. I don't know.
That sounds about right.
Let's see here. There's a lot of stuff. Gilman, you definitely, and everybody definitely, Metal Maiden Vicki's Metal Euphoria, Sonic Asylum Radio.com. Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. You will love it. Gilman, it sounds to me like you are a major metalhead. He says, speaking of bands with the letter C, see, if you'd have said C, I would have put in the chat, okay, can I just use Costello? As you know, my favorite. So I just Costello. Does it have to start with the E?
Well, I would do a Elvis Costello. I would do an E. That's how I have him in my library.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm not playing.
I do have a lot of Elvis.
Costello is so good. Speaking of bands with the letter C, are you a Coheed or Cambria fan?
I have heard of them, so I don't really know their music to give you a qualified answer.
That's fair enough. My good friend Jesse P.S. from the Pod Awful cult, H2BH, happy to be here, says, shout out to Metal Maiden Vicki, an OG Gullyverse character. Well,
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. It's probably dubiously ironic. It's hard to tell with Jesse, but look, it's not overtly bad, so that's a compliment. Julian Zeeler says shredders and or melodic guitarists. Which do you prefer?
Oh, both. It depends on the band.
Yeah.
If you want a shredder, like Dimebag Darrell, may he rest in peace.
Yeah. From here in Dallas, by the way.
Pardon?
From here in Dallas, by the way.
Yes. The Abbott brothers, Dimebag shot on stage.
Yeah.
And Vinny Appice, Vinny, Vinny Paul passed soon after the NAMM convention in 2018. I went out to the NAMM convention that year, and I got to meet Vinny Paul. He was in a band called Hell Yeah at the time. And what a great guy. I got a picture with him, and little did we know we were going to lose him like 3 months later. So I'm glad I had that opportunity. And I remember looking at Vinny, and I said, Vinny, you are a total badass. And he looked right at me and he goes, well, thank you, darling. Now, I'm sure he called everybody darling, but, to me, I was just like all blushed. And, that was a great time, that NAMM convention.
Here's a question for you. How many metal t-shirts do you own?
Woo! I would say over 100. Wow. Easily.
Doctor says, Shredder, I barely know her. Yeah. What are some of the other segments? There's, I remember Lori's just answered you, Alphabet Attack. See, the thing about both of those is that you ask for people to give you recommendations, or if you just see somebody mention something in the chat, boom, it's in there. And as a listener, I can't speak for anyone else, but I start to think. It makes me think about other music and what would go along with this, and certainly the Alphabet Attack is drawing you in because you really got to use your noggin. Band starts with this, song starts with this. What are some other sort of fundamental, always there standards of Metal Maiden Vicki's Metal Euphoria?
Well, I always have a Vicki is a sucker for ballads track every week because I am a sucker for ballads. So I choose a particular ballad every week.
Is it a heavy, what we call the heavy metal ballad?
Mostly, typically heavy metal, hard rock ballad, but every once in a while, I might choose Earth Angel.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So you just never know with me. So it's kind of like Lori's Just Dance a Few. I could play Danny and the Juniors at the Hop, and then we could turn around and be dancing to Steely Dan. Anything goes with me. Which is one of the great fun that I do have with the show, is that I have the freedom to do that, to play what I want. And that, yes, primarily it is heavy metal, hard rock, but that does not limit me. I have punk rock. I have, Motown. I'll play all of it. I have all folders. Everything's in there. Alternative, R&B, blues, soundtracks.
Yeah.
You name it. I love to throw in sound bites here and there.
Oh,
just
gosh,
funny
yes.
little things.
Yeah, stuff from movies or
like you'll be listening along, and all of a sudden hear something from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or I'll throw those in. Sometimes I'll throw in TV theme songs. I'll throw in old-time commercials like Lowenbrow or Budweiser,
or sometimes a Tom Gulley promo liner.
Yes, I still use that.
Yeah. And that's something we should mention real quickly, is that SonicAsylumRadio.com is metal 24/7, 365. But there are other really great shows on the channel. It's not just Metal Maiden Vicki on Saturdays. There's a show just about every night. They're all awesome. They all have their own individual takes, and they're very different. And let's see here, Mary Jacobs, how are you? H2BH, Mary. Metal does have kind of the best album covers. I do have to say that.
Me too.
So, and then here's one from Gilman, who's really metal. He says, is Dave Mustaine really an a-hole? Didn't know if you've ever interviewed him.
Well, I don't know Dave personally. I've never interviewed him. I have interviewed David Ellefson before, but we did not discuss anything between he and Dave Mustaine during their time in Megadeth. I think Dave Mustaine got a bad rap from the very beginning when he got booted out of Metallica. And of course, his revenge, quote unquote, if you will, was starting Megadeth, which Megadeth is a kick-ass band in its own right.
Yeah.
They just released a new album not that long ago.
By the way, I should mention, you do get into punk and other things. You have been so good about tolerating my lack of metal knowledge. And every now and then I'll be like, well, I don't know if this is metal. It's certainly punk rock. There's some crossover there in terms of intensity and loud, and all that. You've been very, very, very nice about that. Doc says, me and Twisted Sister used to cause a quiet riot. That is not metal.
Twisted Sister, they go back to my club days in New York. I used to see them back in the day, if you will. Yeah, they were always fun to go see live. Twisted. But so Megadeth, Dave Mustaine, I think he had a bad rap. I think he can be difficult from what I understand. Again, I've never met him, I've never interviewed him, so I don't want to say one way or the other. But I know he got a bad rap at the Grammys. Well, not the fiasco that happened last night, which is a whole other thing. I didn't even watch it. I've just been seeing clips and laughing. But the last when Megadeth won the Grammys, and I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. Now, however, being the Grammys, who they are, when Dave Mustaine was walking up to the stage to accept his award for Megadeth, the Grammys decided to play Metallica.
Oh.
And he was actually a really good sport about it. He laughed and he kind of like, you could tell he was pissed, but he was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
They screwed up. And I'm like, freaking Grammys. Yeah. Why are they so stupid? But anyway, so, I felt bad for him in that regard, but he did very well with it.
It's great when there's an award show where you can tell before the awards, they went, how can we make the most money? And, it's not even about the music. It's like, which of these bands can we leverage for the most dough? We don't really care about them. I 2 words about the Grammys. Milli Vanilli. I don't think I have to say any more. The whole conversation's over. This is a hot take from Stribs. Hey, Stribs, good to see you. Megadeth, better than Metallica.
Well, that could be debated. Sure. I mean, they're fantastic and both in their own right. I've seen both of them live many times, and it's a hard call. It definitely is.
Let's see. Jared says Quiet Riot definitely had their place. Yes, they did.
Quiet Riot originally with Randy Rhoads.
Yeah,
who ended up with Ozzy Osbourne, and my crush of all time, going back to the early 80s, Rudy Sarzo, bass player extraordinaire, who was in Quiet Riot.
Have you met Rudy?
Worked with Ozzy.
Have you ever met Rudy in your travels?
I did. Oh my God, twice at NAMM in 2018. Not once, but twice. We knew he had a booth and he was doing a thing. So we were going to go to the thing. But on the way to his thing, he's walking by us. And my friend Alex was like, do you realize who just walked by us? And I was like, yeah. And I was all nervous. And he was like, are you going to go talk to him? I'm like, I don't know. So I kind of played it out and I watched the scene, and somebody else went up to him and started talking to him. So I took my chance. And, I was like, I've been a longtime fan. I admire his playing. I admire him as a human. He does a lot with animal rescue on top of it else. And he's just worked with the best in the business. He's still with Quiet Riot. He's worked with Blue Oyster Cult. He's just on. And he was so nice and so kind. I got a couple of pictures taken with him when we met him in the aisleway, and then when we went to his booth. And that was just really made my whole week. It really did. I mean, people that know me, they know my thing about Rudy Sarzo just from the very, very get-go.
Well,
he was in Whitesnake. Oh my gosh. I mean,
I've never gotten to meet any of my crushes. I mean, Julie Newmar, as you know, sent me an autograph. But it's not the same thing, but it's still pretty damn good. When I got that in the mail, I was like, oh my God. But I did get to talk with Elvis Costello for about 45 minutes.
That's
and,
amazing.
And I'm sure I was a gushing fanboy. It was after a concert, and my friends and I were walking to this little jazz club after the concert, and I saw there was a limo behind the Marat Shrine Temple in Indianapolis, and I went, which is where he had appeared, and I went, that limo ain't there for the stagehands. I bet if we go stand up by that limo, and it was brutally cold in Indianapolis, and I stood out there, and he came out. There was probably about 10 of us out there that had gotten the same idea. And he sat there, and he had a big overcoat on and just talked to us all for about 45 minutes. It was the coolest thing ever. Normally, you don't necessarily, your heroes aren't always the nicest people in the world. And who can blame them? They're working and all that. But yeah, I understand what it's starstruck. Jared, thank you so much for the $4.99. Jared, you're a good man. What are the Metal Maiden's thoughts on the band Sleep?
Sleep. Okay. I am not fully familiar with their discography. I have heard songs here and there. They're kind of like a stoner type of metal, like Caius. Just very melodic and atmospheric, kind of. Sleep and Caius are bands that you really have to be like in a not so much mellow mood, but just kind of like a chill mood, So yeah, Sleep is a cool band.
Jared, I'm gonna just go ahead and translate. I agree with Stribbs. Mustaine is the man. Gilman is a big metal guy. Says Judas Priest Johnny B. Good is one of the greatest covers ever. Have you ever done that a thing where it's like metal bands cover other stuff type of a deal?
I have done segments before where it's all covers, because there's a lot of albums out there that bands cover other bands, bands that cover pop stars. I have albums where it's almost all ABBA songs covered by metal stars, which I love.
That's awesome.
ABBA is one of my favorite pop bands of all time. And so, yeah, I've done segments on that. We were talking in the chat room this past Saturday about maybe doing all instrumentals for a couple hours. And there's so many wonderful instrumentals out there in the hard rock heavy metal world.
Steve Bellow, get some Steve Bellow going.
Yeah, well, I told Steve, I said, well, just play your whole discography.
Yeah. Steve
and
Bellow.
I'll just walk away from my broadcaster. I'll just load it all in. And, he has like 10 albums out already.
He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. So is Lisa.
He really is.
I
don't know if you know this, but recently he had a gig at the Cutting Room in New York City for the benefit of musician T.C. Tolliver, and he got to perform on stage pretty much with Living Color, which has been a dream of his for years.
Cool.
So he felt that he's finally arrived. I mean, he's played with Uli John Roth and other bands, countless warmed up, Lita Ford and so many others. And I've seen Steve perform live several times, and he is incredible. He really is. The energy that he brings.
Such a nice guy.
Yes, and on top of it all, he's a great friend. I've known Steve since the MySpace days. Our friend Vanessa turned me on to Steve, and our friendship just kind of progressed, from MySpace to Facebook. And I've had him on my show.
It would have to.
I have 6 times.
He's progressive metal, so it
almost as many as Vinny Appice. His goal is to surpass Vinny Appice.
Well, he's progressive metal, so of course your friendship would progress. Julian Zezer says, I wish Dave's lyrics weren't so insipid because Rust in Peace is so good. Otherwise, my good friend from Pot Awful is asking, wasn't Dimebag a Nazi? No, he wasn't a Nazi.
No.
I'm pretty capable.
I don't believe the Abbott brothers were Nazis. They were just good old boys that like to party too much. And, I saw Pantera the first time open up for Skid Row. We were there to go see Skid Row because we were in love with Sebastian Bach, and that's a whole other story. But this was back in the 90s, and I didn't know who Pantera was at all. But I saw that the T-shirts everybody had on were big green pot leaves. And I thought, all right, well, they're probably cool,
Yeah.
And then they came out on stage and I just, wow. The whole band just amazing. And I've seen Pantera, I saw them a few times after that at an Ozfest and somewhere else.
Did you ever see Damage Plan?
No, I never saw Damage Plan.
There wasn't enough time.
There wasn't. No.
Here in Dallas, people know this. The Pantera, the brothers were huge fans of the hockey team, the Dallas Stars. And so they wrote a song especially for warming up. I think they still use it to this day. And you can look it up. And it's this awesome metal thing. And it's, really gets everybody pumped up. And at the very end of the song ends cold. And then they yell, "Red Wings suck." It's the Detroit Red Wings, obviously. And it's really pretty cool. Pantera is real big down here. So. Jared says your stuff, which is obvious.
Thank you.
Gilman says, Vicki, did Metallica's Black Album change the definition of metal?
Ooh, change the definition of metal? Well, the Black Album, as you know, was welcomed by many metal fans and panned by many metal fans. I personally love the Black Album. I would play it to death when I would be driving in my car. Sad but true. Enter Sandman became, of course, the Yankees. What's his name? The pitcher,
Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, him. Yeah. I'm not a big sports fan.
I don't know metal, but I know baseball relief pitchers.
But that was. That song was incredibly huge. It still is.
They use Enter Sandman for everything.
Yeah, and it was a great album. But then after that, they had a few not so great things, and I think their latest album is really good. It's people want them to go back to the way they were the first three albums, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen. That was magic. That happened years ago. And Cliff Burton was part of that. And as we know, we lost him in 1986. I remember it well. I was living in the dorms in SUNY New Paltz when we got the news that Cliff Burton had died on the tour bus. And, so things were never really the same with Metallica since then. But they've persevered and they've continued. And, I've seen them live several times. One of them was a special concert they did. It was 3 hours called An Evening with Metallica. And they had an orchestra and everything. It was pretty fantastic.
Well, Julian Caesar says, and this just sounds accurate to me. I don't know if it is accurate. Metalheads loved the Black Album, but Metallica diehards hated it.
Yeah, that sounds about right, Julian. And it makes me think of, Load and Reload and the wonderful album they did with Lou Reed called Lulu. Was it?
I think it was Lulu. Yeah, I'm a big Lou Reed fan.
But Lulu was just bizarre. I mean, maybe I'll give it another chance again just to give it a listen. But it was just a strange thing that they did. And I get it. Bands want to do strange things. Judas Priest did that whole Nostradamus, which people were like, why are they doing that? That isn't what they should be doing. And I thought, why not?
Hey.
This is something they've always wanted to do. Thinking about Kirk Hammett from Metallica, he released not that long ago an entire album of instrumentals, completely different from Metallica. And I thought, good for you, because it's something that they wanted to get out of their system, musically.
Yeah. What was it? Steve Naive, the Elvis Costello's keyboard player, did concert music. I mean, it was insane. It was just like, what? Piano concertos? Are you kidding me? You're the guy on Pump It Up and all that, and Allison, and you're just gonna do that. But yeah, there's been a lot of bands that have just said, well, Lou Reed, that's what I was going to say. Lou Reed, I don't know, he's pretty close to the top of the list of an artist that every now and then just goes, hey, what the hell? I think he's a genius. I thought he was weird and creepy sometimes as a person, but he's just some awesome stuff. Not really a singer, more of he's what I call a talk singer.
An artist, like Tom Waits was more of a artist.
Tom Waits actually could sing with that voice. He actually can harmonize. He's melodic. His song has a melody even with his voice. But Lou Reed is just like find a key and then talk like that through the whole song. It's kind of weird, but yeah, he's like forget it. My good friend Jesse from Pod Awful is responsible, by the way, for me being on IMDb. Thank you, Jesse, again. And also the internet's leading person who can make people feel uncomfortable as these next two. Isn't the main guy from Pantera an avowed white nationalist? No, I don't think he is.
You're talking about...
I could have sworn Dimebag Darrell's brother.
It would be... why is his name eluding me right now? Oh, this is Phil Anselmo. Phil Anselmo is a tough SOB. I don't know what he is in those kind of...
Maybe he is. I don't know.
I have no idea, but...
Let's see here. Doc is running through the family. Battery is found in me.
Running through the family. Battery is found in me. Yeah, that's a Metallica song.
Okay. Wasn't most heavy metal just backmass subliminal satanic messaging? No, most of it is not that, Jesse. See, but Jesse, you know the answers to most of these questions before you ask them. Strip says, is Lou Reed's Metal Machine Music a metal album? Good question. I don't know.
I don't know that album.
The last Lou Reed album that I'm familiar with that I have is called The Bells, and it's out there. Master of Puppets is just a lesser Ride the Lightning.
Well, it's different. I love the first three Metallica albums. I mean, well, even after that, the one after that, Justice for All. And I think it's just a matter of opinion, really, when it comes down to it. People, about Motley Crue. Oh, if it's not the first three albums, they don't want to know anything about it. So a lot of bands, if it's not the first 3 or 2 albums, they don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
A lot of bands got mad when they got a new singer. But then other bands was a smooth transition, like AC/DC. When Bon Scott went to Brian Johnson and Back in Black came out, that was the smoothest transition I'd ever heard. I went to that concert at Madison Square Garden, and funny thing is that I think it was such a smooth transition is because Brian Johnson has been quoted of saying that he felt that Bon Scott came to him in a dream and kind of fed him that album. And if you listen to it, it is very Bon Scott AC/DC-ish. So it's kind of interesting.
Well,
you just never know.
That new Bob Dylan movie is out. I haven't seen it. I won't pay to see that. I'll wait until it's on streaming
me too,
for free.
Yeah.
It's could be, and the reason for that is I'm old and I know that Bob Dylan history. I don't need to see the movie. I'm old. I already know everything. And one of the things that I'm sure is huge in the movie, I'm assuming, and it was thought of as sacrilege at the time, is when Bob Dylan at Royal Albert Hall did a set with his acoustic guitar and then came out and did a set with electrical music, like electric guitars and stuff. And people in the audience were yelling Judas at him.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I've got that. And I've got that particular CD. And he just goes, I don't believe you. You're a liar. And then he turns to the band. You can hear him do this. He is play it effing loud. He basically was saying, okay, you want to play? All right. So yeah, the new singer, maybe not as controversial as people think. Lou Reed Metallica album underrated, says Gilman. Yes, Stribs, Phil Anselmo. The Wolf says Lou only used 2 chords. That is so true. What's good in my life today? What's good? Okay, Lou. And it's good stuff. A lot of it's musically complex, and it's it's good to listen to. But let's not mistake him for Meatloaf. Let's see here. Pot Awful says Lulu and Saint Anger are the most interesting things Metallica has done post AJFA. I won't say best necessarily, but most interesting. All the conventional wisdom about them is wrong. They were bold.
Well, you brought up Meatloaf, and just wanted to touch on him briefly because I think he had one of the most underrated voices in hard rock.
Yeah.
I was really saddened when he passed away. And when you were talking about Lisa Hurt, and I thought, my gosh, if Meatloaf was still alive, what a collaboration between, like, I could see them doing Paradise, right?
Yeah.
Or doing some kind of an album, a song together, and they would just rock it. Have you ever seen, there's a video of he and Cher? They did a song together, right?
Yeah, Dead Ringer for Love. Look,
yes,
Vicki, I have everything Meatloaf ever did. I am a tremendous Meatloaf fan. Yeah, I can tell you all sorts of things about Dead Ringer for Love and the shooting of the video, and it's awesome. Magic happens in that video. They walk in, Meatloaf and the band walk in. They're all wearing softball uniforms. And as the cutting back and forth between Cher and her girlfriends happen, they all start to have tuxedo shirts on. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in that video. I'm telling you.
I'll have to watch it again. Yeah. I didn't learn about that collaboration till years later, that they had done a song together.
Yeah.
And of course, his work in Rocky Horror. And
well, that's off of an album called Welcome to the Neighborhood, which was not well received. I like it. But that was the big hit. That was the big MTV airplay hit. But what do you think of Jesse P.S.'s Pot Awful's remarks here about not best, but most interesting?
Let's see. Lulu and Saint Anger are the most interesting things Metallica's on post AGFA. I won't say best necessarily. Well, I really can't answer that because I would have to give Lulu another listen. And Saint Anger, I really haven't listened to that in years because I know my first listen through was like, so maybe I should, sometimes I do like to revisit albums because maybe I feel differently now than I did then.
Yeah.
About, something because, sometimes you feel influenced with everybody saying, oh, it sucks. It's horrible. It's this, it's that, and I always like to form my own opinion, whether it's songs or movies. I understand the need for critics, like Siskel and Ebert, but at the end of the day, I don't really care what they thought about a movie. If I liked it, I liked it.
Well, and back then especially, but music grows on you. And so if your parents had an album, you were going to play it at some point in time or another, just as, what is this? My parents had a lot of Frankie Lane, how do you handle a hungry manhandler, but all those cowboy songs and stuff. And I listened to it, but they had the first Gilbert O'Sullivan album that was called, I don't know if maybe it was self-titled or it was Alone Again Naturally was the title. And I listened to it a lot and I liked it after a while because it grew on me. It was what I had to listen to. I listened to it recently and I was just like, I wouldn't listen to this again for $100,000. It was awful. There was a couple of good songs, but even Alone Again Naturally is the most depressing song ever. In a little while from now.
Oh, it
not
is.
feeling it enough, so I promise myself to treat myself and visit a nearby town and climbing to the top, throw myself off. This is a pop hit. How'd that happen?
A lot of songs, in our 70s, Wildfire was very sad. Shannon was sad.
Yeah.
But we love them. Seasons in the Sun. Billy, don't be a hero.
Yeah,
Run
there
till
you
we
go.
run.
Yeah.
People were dying, getting shot down.
Yeah.
Animals were, but yet we love them. I'll play Wildfire. I need to hear.
Daddy, please
Shannon's
don't.
one of my
It
favorite
wasn't.
songs.
Daddy, please don't. It wasn't his
Oh,
fault. He means so much to me.
how awful, right? When we learn that Julie dies, we're like, no.
Yeah. What about the night the lights went out in Georgia?
Oh my goodness.
And you're like, what? You let that guy die because you're with a killer? What the hell's wrong with you? And you're singing about it? Potavo says, you want a good Dallas band, try the Refreshments or Gas Chamber. My good friends at Gas Chamber. Or don't get me going on Dallas bands. The Jay Johnson band. Anyway, let's see. Gilman says,
one other thing about Meatloaf is, the Bad Out Hell album, as we know, was perfect from beginning to end.
Yeah.
For Crying Out Loud is one of the best compositions I have ever heard in my life. I will play that from time to time and it's so emotional. It's so beautiful. Everything about it. And his daughter ended up marrying Scotty Ian from the band Anthrax. And Scotty Ian was so overjoyed because he was like, you would have told me when I was a kid that, Meatloaf was going to be my father-in-law. He goes, I would have, laughed my butt off. And he goes, and here we are. He goes, Meatloaf's my father-in-law. He goes, it's crazy.
Well, the 2 out of 3 ain't bad for your ballads. I mean,
sure.
The Bat Out of Hell album, it's one of those perfect albums. It's every single track is awesome. There's nothing bad on it. And, he had a lot of really great albums, but I think even he admitted when he started doing acting, maybe he started doing some other things he shouldn't have been doing. His personal life was in the dumper. He did a lot of stuff that wasn't that great, but even those albums and his breakup with Jim Steinman really hurt him. I mean, for obvious reasons. But those are orchestral songs. Those are, it's like early Springsteen. There are 4 songs in this song. It's tempo changes in different moods. It's like the song Band on the Run. It's like if you listen to where that starts and where it goes and where it ends, there's a lot happening there. So yeah, I'm a huge Meatloaf guy. Gilman says Eddie has to be the best mascot in music history. Love Dickinson's voice. Are you talking about Bruce Dickinson? He's a producer.
Oh yes, Bruce Dickinson. Yes, Eddie is their mascot, and all of the Iron Maiden albums, you can kind of see a progression of Eddie over the years. Like I call the first Iron Maiden album self-titled. That's like Baby Eddie. But the Eddie I saw come out on stage, well, I've seen Iron Maiden a few times over the years, but wow. Eddie always blows me away. And, one of the things that I just relish and cherish this day is my late husband, Joe. He worked for Guitar Center at the time in Manhattan on 48th Street, and somehow he got backstage passes to the Iron Maiden, Halford, and Queensryche concert.
Wow!
Iron Maiden was headlining for their Brave New World tour, and we got to meet everybody in Iron Maiden except for Bruce Dickinson. And we found out later why, and I could have kicked myself in the butt when we found out what happened, because we were walking around. It was pretty cool. First of all, I'd never been back in that area of the garden and in the green room and all that stuff. And what we found out later is years ago, Scott Ian, again, he had a show on VH1 called Rock Show. And he was reviewing that particular concert at the garden. And he was live at the garden, and I could hear Queensryche in the background playing. And I knew that's when Joe and I were in the green room getting ready to meet Iron Maiden. And all of a sudden, Scott starts interviewing Dickinson and Rob Halford. And I turned around to Joe and I was like, they were right around the corner from where we were in the green room. Like we could have seen and walked right into that interview if we had known.
Yeah.
But we didn't. But that was okay. One of Joe's goals in life was to have me meet everybody in Judas Priest. And one came to fruition. I got to meet the drummer, Scott Travis, which was really cool. He was a great, great guy. We got to chat for about a half hour at Sam Ash. But what a night,
Yeah.
meeting those guys. And they were all great. The drummer, Nico McBrain, he has recently retired from touring, which is amazing. I mean, the longevity of these bands,
Let's see.
it just amazes me.
Doc's got more lyrics, I think, here probably. What about your future? That might mean defective. You can shove it up your, ooh, I want my money back. I want my money back. I don't know what that is. That just happens all the time on the show. Do you have Meatloaf in the giant guitars that destroyed the world? Yes. Let's see. Tool is not metal. I would agree with that.
Tool? Well, isn't Tool what they call like industrial metal?
Something.
Like that falls into that industrial metal. Like Nine Inch Nails and Tool.
Not a fan. Yeah, I don't think I consider them hard rock. Saint Anger makes me angry about how bad it was, says Gilman. Okay, well, that's appropriate. Sabbath is not metal. I disagree with that.
Oh, I disagree with that too.
AC/DC is not metal. We've already said that we agree with that. Korn is metal.
Yes, new metal. I'm not a Korn fan. I'm not a big new metal fan, but Korn has their definite place in the metal community for sure.
Abiola, he's from over there at the Urban Landlord channel. Hello, Abiola. Jared's got fire for you. Pantera is the droppings of a dog, like Anthrax's inbred cousin. I think Pantera is metal, but I think it is getting it is got a little bit of pop in it in terms of metal. It's I don't think it is hardcore, dyed in the wool, classic metal. That's just me though.
It's a bit more like Southern rock oriented kind of.
Yeah.
And the vocalist, well, I don't agree. I think Phil Anselmo can sing. The first album when Phil joined was Power Metal, which was before Cowboys from Hell. Totally different sound, the way Phil sounded on Power Metal than when Cowboys from Hell came out. And that's when really, I think, the real Pantera came out. Again, my late husband, Joe, was a huge Pantera fan, huge Slayer fan. And he always said that Pantera helped save metal in the 90s. And the day Dimebag, died when he was shot on stage, we just sat down and cried. It was a very, very sad day for a lot of people.
And it was a bad day here in Dallas because he was such a nice guy. He was just a gentle soul. I mean, he didn't look like one, but he definitely was just a very, very nice guy. By the way, the person who's Jesse, who's really great, potawful.com/pizza. Join the pizza fund. He thinks music is dumb. So take it with a grain of salt.
Why does he think music is dumb?
I don't know. Sometimes I think it's just, I don't know. Let's see. Jared says, yeah, I like that album. Don't tell anyone. I think he's talking about Saint Anger. I loved him in Fight Club. Jared says, Wings, not metal. Yes, Paul McCartney.
No.
Winger, also not metal. Winger.
We know how you love Winger, Tom.
That's the only band that I hate is Winger. The only one. Abiola, hello. Yes, very nice. Saying hello. People saying hi. We have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, is verified by independent sources. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things that help us with the algorithm, the almighty algorithm. Who knows? Maybe if you guys donate enough, I get a new computer and threaten StreamYard to work properly. Let's see here. Super Chats memberships. Also, turn on your gifted memberships. It tells how at the bottom of the screen. And then also, and a lot of you seem to really be into metal. And if you are, you need to go to sonicasylumradio.com. Metal all day, every day, 247. Most of it, if not all of it, is independent when there's not a show on, right? It's from the label.
Correct.
And so you're going to hear metal you've never heard before, all different kinds. And then specifically, they have great shows all during the week. They're wonderful. Go to their Facebook page. You can learn all about them, but definitely go to the website, sonicasylumradio.com. And then definitely 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, Metal Maiden Vicki's Metal Euphoria. And you will thank me. You will, even if you don't like metal, even if you don't think you even know what metal is, you will enjoy this program. Pot Awful says, for me, the only real metal bands are the ones that dress like gay leather daddies. Real top energy. Hey, you do you, brother. Strib says, I love White Wine. Is that a metal band? Doesn't sound like it would be.
White Wine? Well, there's White Lion. Maybe she meant White Lion.
I don't know.
Or I'm not sure. Strips.
White Wine just doesn't sound like a metal band to me.
No, there's White Lion.
Can I get some White Wine?
Great White.
Yeah, Great White. Those guys are on fire. Julian
Literally,
Caesar says, Jesse must like Man of War. Jared says, I like the One Winger song. She's only 14. Isn't it? She's only 17.
She's only 17.
Yeah.
And Manowar. Yeah, Manowar, Born to Live Forevermore. And they just played again in Brooklyn, and I missed it. I've never seen Manowar live, and I'm so bummed that because they are one of the loudest metal bands to play live, from what I understand. Like the Who is rock and roll's loudest band to play live. Manowar is metal's band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doc Torn says, don't forget to call in. Tom, love you long time, like for 5 whole minutes if you call in. Okay. That's a deal. Gilman says, you have leveled it up with the metalheads, Tom, and thank you, Vicki. Love you.
Thank you. And the Sonic Asylum Radio, it's just been a great outlet for me. Really just wonderful people. And if you go to the website, we have a schedule tab at the top, and if you click on that, you can see all the DJs and what shows they do. We have Rain, we have DJ Silver, we have Doc's Metal Shop, Doc Rock. We have George Neal with the, just all sorts of things. And yeah, like Tom said, if we don't have a DJ doing a live show, and there's also the Casey Ferguson Show podcast. He's from Canada. We always have music streaming 24/7 for your headbanging pleasure.
Yes. George, the real deal Neil with his show, Pure Steel. There, I made that up. I don't know if you're aware of that. Pot Awful says, yeah, I don't like music, but I like metal, which there's a certain truth to that. And it's not derogatory. Manowar really should have replaced their guitarist sooner, says Stribs. Okay. Well, if that's what you think, man. Okay, here's a couple toughies. What?
Okay.
No, this one isn't tough. Well, yes, it will be tough, but it's not superlative. What is your favorite metal album? Your favorite, you're not saying it's the best. You're not saying it's genre defining. You're just your favorite.
My favorite. Well, wow. There are so many, but I'm going to do like right off the top of my head kind of thing. And I'm going to say Judas Priest, Hellbent for Leather, and Rainbow Rising.
Okay. What is the best metal concert you've ever been to?
Ooh. Well, wow. They've all been great in their own right, but I am going to say the Judas Priest Defenders of the Faith tour at Madison Square Garden. That is the tour where Judas Priest can never, ever play the Garden again. The concert got way out of hand. Pretty much the Garden got torn up, the seats, there were M80s going off. The band was just on fire. They were so good. We didn't know what was going on. We were up in like the third tier and we could see things flying in the air, foam and leather. And we're like, what is happening? I'm not even sure how it started, but everything just went chaotic. And I lost my friends afterwards. I barely made it back to Grand Central. I just followed people. And luckily I met up with my friends again at Grand Central because, back then we had no cell phones, right? But that concert had everything, like the M80s blowing off, the chaos, the madness, the band just going on and on. And from what I understand, Billy Joel was supposed to play there 3 days later. Well, sorry, Billy, we have some repairing to do. So they've never played the Garden ever again. But that concert just had everything. And it was just such a blast. Just crazy, crazy time. Concerts in the 80s were just so different.
Well, there wasn't a lot of pyrotechnics, and there was some pyrotechnics, but there wasn't as many lasers and strobes, and basically it was a bunch of dudes wearing whatever they were wearing, playing music. That's why you were there, and so the performances were the show, and I think therefore they were more intense. Everything now seems like, MTV Unplugged with a slightly more intensity and a lot of glitz.
Yes, Alice in Chains Unplugged was one of the best Unplugged that they did. Seeing Kiss, the Psycho Circus tour in 3D was incredible. The 3D glasses actually worked. I mean, they looked like they were right in front of you, and they were on stage at the Garden. One of the wildest things I've ever seen. So, each concert, the Ozfests, an all-day concert, those were some of the best I've ever seen. Seeing Judas Priest reunited after all the years when Rob Halford came back. The 1999 Black Sabbath reunited tour. The 2007 Heaven and Hell tour, which was basically Ronnie James Dio and Black Sabbath at Radio City Music Hall, was just magical. So there's just been so many. I can't even just pick one, and that's just metal, let alone the rock concerts I've been to. I mean, we're going back to, like I said, I'm a kid of the 70s. My first concert, Tom, was Sean Cassidy, Andy Gibb.
I'm so sorry.
Village People, Beach Boys.
God, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, they were fun, boy. Let me tell you.
Well, you might imagine I wasn't probably as excited to see Sean Cassidy and Andy Gibb as a young lady would be, not having a subscription to Teen Beat magazine.
I did.
Let's see, Pot Awful, in a continuing effort to be different.
Rude.
No, he's not being rude. He's pushing the envelope. He's stirring the pot. He's creating. If he was saying this to you, you would not find it rude. He's,
but he's bringing up a fact that we all know about Rob Halford. It's been said. It's been overdone. It's old news. We know he's gay. And it doesn't matter. He's the metal god. End of story.
Yes. Metal is good and all, but why so dark and angry? Can't they put on a smile and sing about something nice and wear a pressed polo? See, that's what he's
actually probably.
That's what he's doing, really. Hey, man, I've seen before he wore the big suit. If you go look at the old whistle test, the old gray whistle test, is that what it's called?
The old gray whistle test, yeah.
Yeah, there's some talking heads where they're wearing Levi's cords and polo shirts. They're just fresh out of Rhode Island College of Design. The Wolf says
that was a great show. There's old footage of Judas Priest on there doing Dreamer Deceiver, and you would not believe their looks. I mean, Rob Halford has long hair. KK Downing is in like the 70s outfit. Total different look. I mean, each Priest album was very different in its own right. But those old Gray Whistle Test videos of them, wow.
All the old Gray Whistle Tests are great. But what I was going to say is about the Unplugged. When there's metal bands on Unplugged, that's when you learn, what really good musicians they are, but you get down to sort of that bass root of a song. And if a song is really good, I don't care if it's a pop song that's been produced or metal song or disco song, if that bass song can be done unplugged, it's a great song. And so when you break those down, that's what's really interesting to me. There is a video by Aha that's more recent. When I say more recent, I'm old, so it's maybe within the last 6 or 7 years. And they break Take On Me down to a extremely slow, sparsely instrumented ballad level. And it's a beautiful song. And that's what I like about the metal guys on Unplugged that you brought up.
I watched that actually, the slow down Aha.
Yeah. Talking
amazing.
away.
And you know, Judas Priest did that in concert once. They did was it Desert Plain? No, it was Diamonds and Rust, which of course is a Joan Baez cover, but they did it acoustically in concert once. We didn't know it was going to happen. And all of a sudden, everybody's looking around like, what's going on? What do we do? And it was amazing. And they have like a video footage of them just singing it acoustically. But what a bold thing to do at the concert, because everybody's used to their version of Diamonds and Rust, and it was slowed down more like in the way Joan Baez, did their songs, did that song. But it's interesting.
You hear that all the time. It's like Disturbed's version of Down with the Sickness, and then you hear Richard Cheese.
Cheese, yes.
It's just a great, come on.
Cool.
But when
Disturbed do the Sounds of Silence too, right?
Yes. Oh, he does everything that way.
Yeah.
That's his thing. Is he covers different kinds of music in that sort of big band loungy kind of way. But when you hear the lead singer, and I think they're Norwegian, of Aha, just say it every day, and
he can still hit those high notes.
Oh God, can he? But you hear the words. You really, they have meaning, because they're not just being, none of that. Just
right.
The song. Oh, by the way, Jesse, is sort of a saving grace. Yeah, like I said, I like the gay bands only. Gilman says thoughts on Thin Lizzy. Phil, I'm assuming he's speaking of Phil Lynott, great frontman, not a metal band, but
Thin Lizzy was great.
But he was great, and one of the best concept albums. What was the name of the album that had The Boys Are Back in Town in it? It was about some guys trying to escape a future.
Jailbreak?
Jailbreak was about some guys trying to escape a futuristic jail cell in a dystopian society. That was the concept of that album. And that's where The Boys Are Back in Town. Obviously, they had escaped and they're back in town now. Let's see here. What did you think about the movie Rockstar? It's loosely based off of Judas Priest and Rob's Exit.
Yes. I believe that Rockstar definitely was based on Judas Priest, because it was so close to Tim Ripper Owens' story, who replaced Rob Halford when Rob left briefly to do those other projects that he wanted to do with Fight and Two. And apparently, now in the movie, a couple of girls, a fan, Tim Ripper Owens used to front a Judas Priest cover band where he was from in Ohio called British Steel. And I guess some fans of his sent in tapes to the band of Tim's voice, and they loved him. They thought he was fantastic. They flew him out to California. I think it's totally based on that. I think it was a little bit over dramatic, of course, because it was a movie. But I thought Marky Mark, I'm always going to call him Marky Mark, but I thought he did a great job, playing the new, steel dragon singer, if you will. And I love Rockstar. It's such a great movie. And the way it ends, falling right into the Seattle grunge movement, that he realized he had had enough of this metal scene. It just wasn't where it was going, where he was living. But I totally believe it was based on Tim Ripper Owens. And Tim, he did 2 great albums with Priest. He did the live album. I saw Priest twice with Tim Ripper. He's done a bunch of bands on his own, Iced Earth and Charred Walls of the Damned. And I actually saw him with Dio Disciples on vocals. Yeah.
Do you know what happened at the Grammy? It says Beyonce can win a Grammy for country music. Wings can be considered metal. Did she win the Grammy?
She did for country, whatever. Yeah, she won country album.
But she ain't gonna win no American Country Music Award or any of those. Guarantee. That's just ridiculous.
Well, she looked very surprised, but I know that I'm not even going to get into it. But yeah, that was just very strange. And
look, I'm a country guy, and that's ridiculous. I'm not prejudiced against music, but that's not a country album.
She's not a country artist.
No, that's a clout chase.
And I feel bad I don't know who else was nominated, but I feel bad that none of those other people won.
Yeah, well, there's 2 awards that are bigger for country people than that one anyway, that are super country centric. And
True.
It's great to get a Grammy from a, crossover standpoint. But Jared says Rob Halford is straight in the way that dude's gay. Nice troll. Jared, you might want to go to Wikipedia. Stribbs is pointing up at the same thing. Pot Awful is saying, me personally, I don't want to stick the gay metal guys in my ear. Halford rules. So he's a Halford fan. The Wolf says, what's all this talk about happy performers? Yeah, a lot of them
happy and peppy
aren't very happy. Has Vicki ever heard the song The Metal by Tenacious D?
The Metal. Well, Jack Black and Pick of Destiny is a great movie. Ronnie James Dio, Meatloaf is in it. If you've ever seen the Pick of Destiny, watch it. It's really funny. Jack Black and the other guy in Tenacious D. And
have you ever heard that song?
Yes. Oh, I had the album. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Jared says, hey, metal chick, you know what her name is, Jared. What's your thought on the HBO series Vinyl? My favorite part was the Neil Young character.
I have not watched Vinyl. I do not have HBO.
Vinyl was good. I don't think Vinyl is still on, is it? Wasn't it just on for like a couple of seasons? I think Dice Clay may have been on it for a while, and it was really good. I saw a few episodes of it with this is excellent, but to my knowledge, it went away really fast.
Was Vinyl with Dennis, the comedian?
Dennis Leary?
Yeah. Was he in Vinyl?
All I can remember was the Dice Clay part and that I liked it. But Dice Clay, who is surprisingly good as an actor whenever you see him act. Yes. Julian Zeezer says, ever see the rockumentary called Anvil? Washed up Canadian metal band finds success in Japan. Have you seen that?
I haven't watched it yet. But Anvil is one of those bands that just didn't quite make it, and they should have, because they're really good. I really need to watch that documentary. So thank you for reminding me that.
Neil Young, I like a lot of his stuff, but man, I get the feeling I wouldn't want to spend 5 minutes around the guy.
Oh, Neil Young?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can kind of, but Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young was a whole different deal. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Well,
I don't want to be a cinnamon girl because
after the gold rush and all that's it's great. And some of his later stuff, because he went through a period in the late 80s, early 90s when he would pick a genre. He'd say blues or this or that and just do an album about it. And certainly Hey Hey My, this story of Johnny Rotten. I don't think he really knew the story of Johnny Rotten when he wrote that into the song. But Gilman says Tim Ripper Owens is the current singer of Charred Walls of the Dam with Richard Christie. Richard Christie, well-known speed metal drummer and Howard Stern cast member. And then Pot Awful claiming to have played Neil Young on vinyl. I don't think there's any truth to that whatsoever. Only one season, and it was great, says Jared. Jared's laughing about the vinyl thing. Gilman says Anvil is a must-see, and Jared says Anvil was great for sure. So you know, dead on with your Anvil take.
There were just some bands that just didn't quite make it into that mainstream, for whatever reason. Because back then, of course, it was different. They didn't have the exposure that bands have now. I mean, we learn about a new band within seconds.
Yeah.
We can go to all their pages and look at everything they have. But back then, if you happen to look at a cool album in the store and you're like, who are these guys? I like the album cover. I bought a lot of stuff based on album covers back then.
So did I.
Especially and luckily I was lucked out most of the time.
If the album had a little cutout corner, that would be one of the greatest things I could see on it, because it was in the cutout section, and that meant I only had to pay $1 for it.
Right.
Tom, I literally played Neil Young on vinyl. That's why Jared brought it up. Tom, stop not believing me. Yes, I literally played Lucas McCain on the Rifleman. Literally. Strib says he did. I've seen it. Jared says, Tom, Jesse did indeed play Neil Young on the vinyl series. No BS, dude. Yes, I'm sure he did. Sure he did. I believe it totally. I'm that gullible. And by the way, well done. Well done. The stirring rendition of Neil Young. He beat up Daryl Hannah and everything. You can see it. I know. I've got the box set. Anyway,
rocking in the free world, right?
Yeah, rocking in the free world. Cinnamon Girl and Sugar Mountain and Oh to Live On. I do a really good Neil Young. Anyway, Gilman says I got into metal because of Eddie. Maiden had the best album covers.
Yes, indeed.
I don't know. The Chicago Players, Ohio Players. The Ohio Players had some album covers that I darn near went steady with.
The Ohio Players.
Oh, yes.
When you said Chicago, Chicago was one of the bands my dad got me into. He was big in Chicago and Blood, Sweat, and Tears and all those kind of bands.
Okay.
And classical, and he liked Doors, The Cream. My sister got me into a lot of the classic rock, King Crimson, The Doors. A lot of music that when I was younger and I'd hear coming out of her room, God, I thought she was weird. Well, I was like, what is my sister listening to? Emerson, Lake and Palmer and King Crimson and Jethro Tull. And I'm like, wow, my sister's really strange. And then I got to appreciate it. She always told me, she said, you became cool when you turned 14.
Well, the Wolf is a big, giant King Crimson fan. And I understand he's been in your chat.
Yes, we were just talking about a gentleman that was connected with King Crimson, right, Wolf? That led to my chat-inspired songs, which I love. I also love chat-inspired songs where we'll be talking about something in the chat that just inspires something else in my music library to bring up. It was that my band of the week, they were called The Ring out of Canada. And their guitarist, Don DeWolf, had played with Brian Beller, who was with Joe Satriani, The Aristocrats, Death Clock, Steve Vai, and Thomas Lang, who played with Robert Fripp. So that's how all that came about. So it was very interesting that I happened to pick The Ring on a day that, Wolf was in the chat room and, was able to contribute those because I learned, I love learning new things. I call it expanding my metal head.
Let me or Jesse call in. Yes, Pot Awful says, haha, I can't believe the one true thing is the one Tom outright denies. Tom Gullible. Yes, since I just looked it up. And you know who plays Neil Young in vinyl? Neil Young plays Neil Young on the TV series Vinyl. Let's see. Urquhart says, with a baby in her hand. I have no idea what that means. The people.
Oh, that's just baby in her hand. It's like a lyric.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Kirkwood,
if you could elaborate, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
Let's see. Is there something somebody here would like to request a song for this weekend's Metal Maiden? Well, I don't know if you're doing requests right now.
I always do. I'm always open to requests. Even when I've guest on, because usually if I guest on, I schedule them at 5:30. I don't like to start interviews right away at 3.
No.
So I give it a little bit and
get StreamYard. That's the best way to not have start on time. I highly recommend it.
I don't use that. All I do is my Centova, and hopefully that works. I mean, we were talking about, things that happened in the beginning. I was doing an interview once, and luckily the guy was so cool about it. My broadcaster would not connect with the encoder, and it just kept messing up, where you get the spinning circle, right? During this interview, it happened 5 times, which of course results in 5 different MP3s of your show that you have to together. And I felt like such an idiot, such unprofessional. And he was like, Vicki, don't worry about it. He goes, I know it's not you, and I was like, but you feel like a big dork. And luckily he was so appreciative, but we got it figured out and we were able to merge it. And the interview came out fine. But beauty and chaos of live radio.
There's no. I'm never ever not on time and all that stuff. And the only thing that episode 7, okay, I'll look into it. You're making me and Jesse look bad in front of Metal Chick Vicki. It's not Metal Chick Vicki.
Metal Maiden. And I will. Okay, Metal Chick. Yeah, no, I'm not a chick. I'm a Metal Maiden, and I'll tell you how Maiden, because some people don't know that. Some people think it's just.
Let's hear it. I'd love to hear it.
Well, I'm a Metal Maiden. I was talking earlier about being a little sister of the Pi Alpha Nu fraternity of SUNY New Paltz, New York.
Oh.
I pledged the fraternity in 1986. The spring of 87. 6 long weeks of pledging to the sisters and the brothers. And the brothers were the knights and the sisters were the maidens. Okay. So when I started to do radio, I thought, well, hell, I'm Metal Maiden Vicki. And that's how it's always been. So there you go.
Yeah, it's always been that way. And that's the way it will always be. So there.
But yeah, so that's the story behind that. And Pi Alpha Nu is the best second family I could ever ask for in my entire life. They are amazing people. So,
all right.
And they have a little, we have a little claim to fame too in the metal world. Some people out there might be familiar with SO Daughters of Death. They are a crossover kind of hardcore metal punk band from New York, New Jersey. Billy Milano, the singer. SOD came out with an album. Track number 8 is Pi Nu, which Lemba Lake, we would have like sponsor us. They would come up in like a truck full of kegs. This thing got so crazy over the years. And one of my frat brothers, Anthony Ferrara, grew up with Billy Milano. So that's how that whole thing came to be. So we are track number 8 on Speak English or Die. This song is all about a minute and a half. So,
well,
but it's pretty cool. Yeah.
God damn it. No, I got it. These pot awful people, they sometimes are just okay. TV show. I can't do it on my computer right now. Thanks, StreamYard. It's just this constant everything is about me. I'm telling you, TV show vinyl, episode 7. Why are we even concerned about this? Is Neil Young metal?
No,
I didn't think he was.
classic rock. And Coheed and Cambria, Gilman, I actually have them in my rock and roll folder, and I have 10 albums of theirs. So apparently I have something that I can check out on them. So I will, based on your suggestion there. I will write it down on my sticky note, and I will check out some Coheed and Cambria.
At this point, it's like, Jesse, do you really need more attention in the world of the internet? Do you really need more attention? All of my stuff you don't want to hear about. I'm in the book, the big introduction. They don't care. But this, I'm going to get to the bottom of, for Christ's sakes, because it's a thing. And every other technological portion of this show has just been a failure tonight. So we're going to look it up. And we're going to see, I'm going down the list. There's Graham Parsons, Stephen Sills, blah, 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 Pink Fairies, Jan Dean, Blackjack Dealer, Pineapple Girl, Lose Driver, Passenger, David Crosby, Elvis backup singer. Hey, man, some of these people have really good headshots. They're very attractive humans. All right, it's not here. If you're in it, it ain't here. Episode 7, sorry, not here. So once again, now you can go high five yourselves and say, I made him look it up. It really did. But yeah, that's why I think this will be the last show ever. I think I've had about enough of the internet personally.
Don't say it's not so. Don't make me the last show ever.
That would be better, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better to be on the last show, to be the final guest? There was a sports radio station in Dallas that had the very last guest was Mario Andretti. And it was like, yeah, we did Mario Andretti, and then that was over.
Wow.
Season 1, episode 7. There we go. So it's not there. It's not on IMDb, but I'm sure you've got a plausible explanation of why it's not there, and it's really a thing. And yeah, they have a clip of it. I'm sure they did. So go ahead, Metal Maiden Vicki. Okay, I'm going to start skipping over the dumb questions.
Did I ever? No. The answer would be no. I never did.
Is Guar considered classic rock or blues?
I'm sorry. I think that's got to be a funny question coming from archivist. Guar is not classic rock or blues, and I think he knows that just by asking that question. Guar is a band that kind of like going to see, that comedian with the watermelon,
Gallagher.
You have to wear, Gallagher. You have to wear protective clothing to go see Guar. They're pretty messy. I've never seen them before, but they're a pretty nutty band.
Okay.
They're metal. They're definitely metal, and they're in costumes, and they're gross in there. I remember when Jerry Springer had them on his show years ago, and I don't think Jerry knew what the hell he was getting into. They literally, one of them like had him climb into his costume, and they like spit Jerry out. It was really funny. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, if I'm even remembering that correctly. But Guar is nuts, and they got a new female lead singer now, from what I understand, and she's quite intimidating.
Last Days says, Vicki is badass. Thanks for all I do, girl. Thanks for spinning Last Days. Metal Rules. There we go.
Wait, what was that?
Last Days with a Z.
Oh, hey, Last Days. What's going on?
Said, Vicki's badass. Thanks for all you do, girl. Thanks for spinning Last Days. Metal Rules.
Of course. My pleasure. You know that.
So, yes. Best rock interview of all time. Best music interview. I'll put it that way. It's not rock. Public Image Limited on the Tom Snyder's Tomorrow Show.
Pill.
Yes. You ever seen that?
Pills, that's a punk band?
That's John Lydon. That's Johnny Rotten.
Right, yeah.
And
Pill. I remember
Keith,
back in the
what's
day.
Keith's last name? You ever seen The Interview, though?
Have I seen The Interview?
Yeah, it's on YouTube all over the place.
Wait,
It's not a band, it's a corporation. Corporations can mess about with musical instruments. Well, what did you do with your punk rock? And I thought that was to be the. I wondered when you'd get round to that one. You should definitely look at it right after this. It's not that long, but yeah, John Lydon is in rare form. Come on, do your business. Prompt. He's God. It's very adversarial.
and what is it? Just a Pill documentary? Or
No. It is. You remember Tom Snyder?
Right. Okay.
He had the Tomorrow Show, which is the late night network show after the Tonight Show. And he had on as guests John Lydon and Keith. I think his name was Keith. He died of heroin he was a hopeless heroin addict. The two of them were sitting there and he was trying to interview them. Oh, and Lydon's being such a jerk to him. Rock and roll's gotten about as advanced as it can get. They play it in the airports. I don't think you can get more advanced than that. And, well, we invited you on the show. Would you not like to talk about it? Well, that is why we are here. Prompt, do your business. And at a certain point, he sees, Tom Snyder famously smoking cigarettes. And he's being a jerk to him. And he goes, may I have a cigarette? Would you like one? Yes, please. And he bums a smoke off of him. Jared says Pill has one good song. That is not correct. By the way, anger is an energy. Strib says Pill's last album was good. Pill's got great stuff. Jared says, I saw the infamous interview. They said naughty words. Don't think they said naughty words. You might be thinking of the interview in England when the Pistols said naughty word. Jared said, what about the Pill interview on BBC right when they started? That was their last interview with the BBC. That you're thinking of the Sex Pistols. And the Pistols were only on there for an interview about punk rock. It wasn't specifically about the Pistols. And it was, I think Polystyrene from the... what's the name of that band? The X-Ray Specs, I think, was there. It was just a gathering of punk rockers. They just happened to be people that were in bands. And so they said really bad words on the BBC. And it was a big deal back then. But you definitely need to see Tom Snyder and John Lydon, Johnny Rotten on that thing. You will, I think, enjoy it. So,
all right, I'll check it out.
Anyway, I think we've taken up enough of your time with all this silly stuff.
Yeah, my goodness, it's 10:30, Tom. Woo!
Yeah, I know. And I apologize for the late start. Thank you, StreamYard.
No apologies needed. Believe me, Tom.
Once again, everybody go to sonicasylumradio.com. I would highly recommend that you go to their Facebook page. We stream this show on their Facebook page. And that way you can get all the latest breaking news and what all the shows are going to be about. As you heard Metal Maiden Vicki mention, there's a ton of great shows on that channel. And then just metal all day long at sonicasylumradio.com. I might also point out that the chat rooms on the shows are awesome because you can put GIFs in the middle of the chat. So people put some of the craziest, funniest stuff in there.
Yes, GIFs. And I always like to post the album covers or whatever pictures of the bands that I have, whatever happens to be in the folder. It just makes for more fun,
Yeah.
More engagement on things like that. So it's a lot of fun. And this Saturday, if I may, I do have my guest is going to be Roy Costin. He's a musician. He's been involved with several bands: Love Bone, Ardent, DC Strut, Four Large Men. Been working with this girl, Christina Avila, and she hooked me up with this interview. So I'm very excited to learn all about Roy Costin. He's currently working with, I believe, Ronnie Monroe as well. So should be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and keep rocking. Oh, Sorry, is it? No, it's this. It's this, isn't it?
What?
It's not this. This is the Texas Longhorns hand symbol. It's this. This is the metal rock thing.
No, the metal rock thingy is where is it? I know they have it in here.
Well, what is it? This? The other way? You can just tell me.
Well, hard activist. Oh wait, are you? Yeah, that's it, Tom. Yeah.
Oh, this is the thing. Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, it's kind right. Well, it's an old Italian sign actually to ward off evil spirits. Ronnie James Dio, Ronald Padnavo, his grandmother used to do it. And he just started to do it to the audiences, and it became like his symbol.
That's what I was doing right there. Oh well. Let's see. Julian Zito says, "Thanks, Tom, Metal Maiden Vicki, chatters, and people are giving the various symbols, and that's great." All right. Hey, Will, thank you so much for being such a great supporter of the show. Thank you for doing such a great show, and everybody. Metal Maiden Vicki, Metal Euphoria, Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time on SonicAsylumRadio.com. You will thank yourself for listening to it.
Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate it. I loved the write-up you have on this video. And you know, when I logged on to YouTube today, the first thing I saw was, oh my God, it's my face. I kind of flipped out. I didn't expect it. It was really funny. Very cool. So thank you. I'm so glad that we were able to finally find a night that we could do this. And, you know, I want to reciprocate as well. And I want to, you know, have you as a special guest on my show, because we need to learn all about Mr. Tom Gulley as well.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Oh, I would recommend it highly.
All right. We'll do it. We'll do it. It's
yeah, no, definitely. But thank you again, Tom. This has been great. Thank you, everybody in the chat, for your questions and for all your hanging out. You guys are awesome. And yeah, I hope to see you at Sonic Asylum Radio. And I will see you soon in one of your many podcasts that I love here on the Tom Gulley Show.
Well, we'll see. All right. We'll see you later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Good night.
Oh, it's the wonderful Metal Maiden Vicki. Such a nice lady. And you're really great. And thank you guys for being such really repellent. I'm kidding. Let's see. What do we got here? Thank you so much. Thank you for rushing in and making about yourself, some of you. Great conversation. Have a good night. Yeah, you guys have a good night too. We're gonna just shut it down. We're not gonna do any phone calls or anything. So, you know, that old phone says it's gonna be is get up out of here, and I have to go home. You can't stay here. Hold on. I gotta wait a half an hour for StreamYard to let me open up this stupid video file, or I could just end it. But till next time, we'll see you next time when it finally opens, which will be in a couple days. I'll just sit here and kind of vamp.